there's almost been 55 participants, which is just amazing to get so many people in a room just to start thinking about lab sustainability in general. I'm sure you're not all starting today, and I was really excited by Joe and Lisa's talk there. It's kind of like, it's something that we see increasingly around the world. The green lab movement, if you like, is just growing really, really fast every year. And you know, from individual users like yourselves, then doing great work and then promoting their own institutes, through to organisations like the EAUC and many others, really just you know, spreading the word and really acting as enablers as well, I guess. So I'm going to put up a few slides. I'm going to do my best not to give you death by PowerPoint. Some of them have far too many words on them. The idea is not to read them, but they will be available later on, along with any other information you want. But yeah, it gives me a bit of guidance apart from anything else, actually, just to sort of cover a few things for you. But I'm going to cover them really quickly, breeze through them, and then let's get into some questions and some conversations. So let me just bring this up now. So this first thing I like to always put up, actually, in everything I do, is just this is obvious, I'm sure, to a whole bunch of people in the room, but there's also a very diverse delegate list here today as well, which is, you know, why does My Green Lab exist? Why are we all in this meeting today? And that's, of course, that, as highlighted just really well by Joe and Lisa just now, labs have a massive impact. You know, compared to a building full of offices, for example, they use loads of energy, loads of water, and generate loads of, as we were just talking about there, loads of plastic and other waste as well, toxic and non-toxic as well. So, you know, this is all pretty scary, you know, when we consider that science, and especially, you know, in this COVID era, we're all really, really excited that science is able to develop things like vaccines. But of course, like everything else in the world, it has an impact, and it's pretty big. So just a quick introduction to who are My Green Lab, really. So we are a not-for-profit organisation that originated in California and is now becoming very much a worldwide organisation. And as with this meeting today, a lot of what we're about is about bringing awareness about the environmental impact of science in general, and especially in the lab space, sharing information around and really helping to guide scientists, but also actually manufacturers as well, into the lab space to how this impact is reduced. We do this through a range of programs. I'm going to mention a couple of them in a moment, but really the only take home here from this is just that we're working with the science industry, if you like, in a whole range of ways. So whichever part of the industry you're in, you know, we want to work with you and collaborate with you. And really, you know, where does it all start? Well, in the previous talk, there was talk about, you know, there's lots of labs in that particular institute. How do we get word about? How do we get more enthusiasm in individual groups, etc.? So if you take kind of one thing away from today, then encourage people you work with to look at the My Green Lab Ambassador Program. This is a free of charge program operated via our website. You watch a bunch of fun videos. If you've got a lot of knowledge, maybe like people like Joe and Lisa and some others I've seen on the list of delegates today around lab sustainability, you'll probably just find it quite funny and quite basic. But it's really about providing the first step into understanding more about the impact of labs and things you can start to do in labs to reduce the impact of them around energy, waste, water, things like green chemistry and wider community interaction as well. And as I said, what's really been exciting about this is this only started late last year, and already over 400 people around the world have taken part in it, which I think really helps us to see that this Green Lab movement is growing fast. And also, to give them their dues, we're also really excited that as well as people from labs, a whole bunch of people, for example, from manufacturers who offer products into labs have been taking part, because they're recognizing they need to understand more about what's going on in labs and about making them more sustainable. We also, taking it to the next level, offer a program to work with labs around what we call Green Lab Certification. Called certification, it's really a program about understanding where you're at, a whole range of areas that you see on the slide there, come back later for more detail, definitely. Baselining where you're at, getting a whole bunch of information about how you can improve in those areas. And then over the years, looking at a program of continuous improvement to really move up the ladder, if you like, of being a more green and sustainable lab. I'm breezing through this because I really want to get onto some questions and got some conversation. And then Claire mentioned procurement. So this is actually more the area I personally focus on. I'd love actually to put Joe and Lisa in touch with some of my colleagues who focus more on the hands-on stuff in the labs as well, to kind of exchange information. But ACT is something else we do where we collaborate with manufacturers to whether they be of consumables such as pipette tips and tubes, whether they be of chemicals and reagents, whether they be of equipment, everything from microscopy hardware through to ULT freezers and autoclaves and everything in between, to provide a way really of manufacturers communicating to those in procurement, those in purchasing, those looking at products, sustainability information about the products they're offering. And it's really about, a bit like everything we do as well, is looking more holistically at it, not focusing on one particular area. So looking at what goes on with products when they're manufactured, what's going on at the factory in terms of energy, water and waste, what's going on in terms of chemical management and use in the factory, how far it's traveling, what's actually in the product in terms of the packaging, in terms of, is the cardboard in that box it comes in from a sustainable source or an unsustainable source, for example. And when it comes to its usage, how much water and energy is used? Is it something that lasts a long time? Is it a use once consumable, for example? And at the end of that product's lifetime, again, based upon what's in it, the approaches the manufacturer takes with their customers, what's going to happen to it? Is it going to end up in landfill? Is it going to end up being recycled? Does the manufacturer help out with that, et cetera, et cetera? So yeah, it's really something where manufacturers fund it, if you like, by going through the program, and users and those in procurement are able to use it as a tool. And then the final thing of some of the programs I want to mention as well, because this is again something that anyone can go away, get involved in. Again, there's no cost to those taking part. So not for profit. We're very lucky to work under donation and sponsorship from some of our partners. So in this case, the freezer manufacturers. And this is about challenging people around the world to manage their freezers, but their ULT freezers better, run them at -70, as was mentioned earlier, clean them, maintain them over time, migrate to newer technologies, etc. And you see on the right-hand side there, for example, last year, there were 218 labs or sites around the world, over 88 research organizations involved, with a big impact in terms of energy, or put another way, carbon emission equivalent savings as well. So it's again something to take away and look around your organization to go, this is a way of measuring what you're doing, taking part in a wider thing, being part of something wider worldwide. And for a few choice people, getting recognized for being the top performers in different categories around the world as well. And so just to finish up, really, as I said, we're an organization that started off in California. We retain our status as a not-for-profit, but we're working more and more around the world. So you see on the green dots here, and for me as the person based in the UK, what I'm really excited about is that ambassador program that started just late last year. You see a whole bunch of dots in the background there in the UK and Europe, as far as field as Australia and India and the Far East as well. And so it's really, the Green Lab movement really feels like it's becoming a worldwide movement. So before opening up for some questions, really, yeah, keep in touch with us. Give us your knowledge and experience back as well to collaborate with us. Start making some change in your labs as well, as it says here. And I put collaborate in red because I do quite a lot of events like this. I did one in Switzerland, for example, just a few weeks ago. And the big thing that keeps coming across to me from these events is there are lots of people, which is really exciting, doing their own thing in their own institute, and sometimes kind of reinventing the wheel, or sometimes doing something that someone else has already done. And one of the things we try to be, amongst other things at My Green Lab, is to try and bring these people together to collaborate more. And I also mean collaborate across the industry as well. So work between labs and procurement, work between procurement and manufacturers, work with funding bodies and other bodies as well to bring more sustainable science. Because only through that sort of total collaboration do we see it really working. And as I said, we are a not-for-profit, so I am duty-bound just to mention some of our sponsors who very kindly help us to do some of the work we do. But on that note, yeah, I shall, what questions have people got? What thoughts have people got? And I'll stop sharing my screen and let's chat further.
Hi Raj, thank you for that. Just sharing my screen again, so just took over there. Thank you to Lisa, to Joe and to Raj. Really great to kind of hear what you're all doing. It's a huge area to cover. Just for anyone who would like to give us some feedback once we finish the discussion, we have got a little feedback which on Slido, so sli.do in your browsers. The hashtag is SUSLabs. Sustainable and SUST. So if you would like to give us some feedback on this, that'd be great. I'll share this again towards the end of the webinar. So we've got some time now for some chat, some questions. We've already got a question in from Andrew Bryers. So anyone who would like to cover this one. He says he's looking for some lab training that involves health and safety and sustainability that can be replicated for new staff and students, i.e. self-taught online training. Has anyone implemented this or know of such an external training scheme? Just a quick one on that. If anyone else other than our speakers have got any information that they'd like to share on something that they've done, please feel free to share it on the chat or to just pop your hand up and we can let you have a quick chat through what you've done. We've already had somebody come back to Andrew saying that they're busy creating a training program. And Anna Wise at Warwick says, do CLEAPS, C-L-E-A-P-S-S provide this? Does anyone, one of our speakers? Hello? Lisa, Raj, or Joe, do you know of any?
I mean, yes, I would say, I mean, as I said, our Green Lab Ambassador program is a free of charge program. Anyone can take part, and it really is a first stage introduction, if you like, to areas considered around the lab. It really starts, I think the first video starts with things like, hey, turn the lights off when you leave for the day and look at your fume hoods and all that sort of thing. And then it goes into more detail about waste, energy, water, and a few other areas as well. But for people really starting the journey, take a look at that, watch the videos, do the quiz at the end. And if you get more than 80% on the quiz at the end, which pretty much most people do actually, then you also get a certificate. You get to share your enthusiasm about it, spread the word, etc. But really, it's about those in the labs going back and with having learned a bit and telling their colleagues and getting everyone on board.
I'm just thinking, Claire, I don't know that there's lots of good comments and questions coming up, and it's just you know, time to give them proper answers. Can this chat be? Does it last? I'm never sure about that actually. With chats, does this last beyond? Well, we have a record of the chat and the questions afterwards. I know obviously the thing's been recorded, but will the questions be?
I will have a log of all the questions. So what I could do is just put the questions into kind of a sheet, and then we can put some answers next to them and send that out with the recording, just so that that information is available and we've got the questions as well.
I think that would be useful, because just so many, you know, they require time to do them justice. But Joe, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I see the question from Vicky at Durham about nitrile glove recycling. I don't know if you want to. Do you want to speak a bit about that, or not?
Yes, yes. So I've been looking at this for quite a long time here at Napier. It's my bugbear, because basically that's pretty much all that's in our black bin liners at the moment. Our general waste is hand towels, blue roll, and gloves and loads of them, especially with teaching, you know, especially just now because some classes are double gloving because of COVID, and it's horrible. I'm really looking into this at the moment. There is a lot of people have probably heard of this already, a scheme with TerraCycle and Kimberly Clark running, which is fine, but you have to use Kimberly Clark gloves, which are near enough 2 to 3 times more expensive than the bog standard gloves that probably the university can afford to buy. we're looking at possibly trying to get some funding to get a scheme up and running. I think that's possibly the only way, other than keep chapping away at your suppliers and ask them, do they have a glove recycling scheme? Can they do one? I've been, we were invited to talk with StarLab about our needs for glove recycling scheme, just with the complication of everything at the moment. That's kind of fallen by the wayside, but I will be back knocking on that door again. It's something that I think needs to be looked at, and you know, talking about procurement and thinking about who we buy from. Perhaps if we push it, these companies might start thinking about providing a glove recycling scheme if we buy their gloves. You know, it's something that I think if we keep banging on about, something might happen. But as yet, the only scheme I know of is the TerraCycle Kimberly-Clark. Other than TerraCycle also do a recycling box that will take any brand of gloves, but I did a huge sum and worked out that you have to actually purchase the boxes. It was so expensive, it just wasn't possible, prohibitively expensive. So we're still on that one. So that's all I've got on that so far.
Similar, because of a related question from John Blanc. Are there any bio-based plastic goods already existing in the market for laboratories, so pipettes, tubes, petri dishes? And I'll get to the Institute of Cancer Research question in a second.
I'm not certain about that bio-based products. No, not certain about that. Raj, I don't know if you might have any idea on that, but I'm not sure of that one specifically.
I just wanted to comment on a more generic level. Actually, I don't have a specific answer to that question, but I will be very happy, Claire, to if you do have all some of the questions or all of the questions in an email later on, be happy to share them around my colleagues and some of our community and see if there's some information we can feed back to you guys. And I was just going to add to that, actually, that one of the later stages of the ambassador program actually is it's not just a do the videos, do the quiz, get a certificate. We have regular Teams meetings, actually. I think it's once a month from memory, where members of that community get together. And one of the main points of that is to kind of exchange information like, oh, we found an answer to recycling this product, or, you know, we've got a better solution to this, and that type of thing, and learn from each other. So I just wanted to add to that as well, on the same ilk as well. On the procurement side, if there are people on the call who are more on the kind of procurement side of things as well, then as part of our the ACT label program, the eco label, if you like, for lab equipment, consumables and chemicals, we're always happy for people to join our what we call our procurement 50, which is a group of people who get together several times a year as well. And on the procurement side, exchange lessons learned and info, and also feedback to manufacturers, which makes my final point, if it's okay, then I will finish, sorry, is someone said what I think was a really important point there, which is the change when it comes to manufacturers, whether it's a recycling program or whether it's making the products as a whole more sustainable or whatever, is people like, I spend a lot of time talking to manufacturers about ACT labeling and about improving their practices around manufacturing, a whole range of other things. They listen 100 times more when their customers say it. So we, I mean, whilst the ACT program is growing really, really fast, we're adding literally thousands of labeled products at the moment as we speak. It really happens. They really come to us when they go, wow, we're getting beaten up by people in procurement and people in the lab saying, we want the information about your products. We want you to be better. And that accelerates things so fast.
Great. And there's a comment on the Kimberly-Clark manufacturers. Apparently the gloves are made in Malaysia, and the footprint of shipping them is ignored. Just to go back to the Institute of Cancer Research, like Raman's asked, is there a generic template that they can use to indicate the amount of plastics or lab materials that they've recycled? Does anyone have anything along those lines?
We've been asked by a few parties in the beginning, you know, did we have some sort of template that we used to get a hold on, well, even before recycling, what we were actually using. We've kind of just gone down that we didn't start with a template, absolutely not. You know, I've talked about what our start point was, just simply asking the waste provider. But we have, you know, we have spoken to those who do all the ordering. So we're kind of, we obviously monitor how much we recycle in terms of we monitor kilogrammage, and we monitor numbers of bags that we recycle, and then that equates to, you know, the large external dumpsters that are used outside the building. We know how many of those we're filling up with recycling, so we can quantify savings, because DMR, the dry mix recycling, is less expensive to be processed than the general waste. So we can kind of quantify that way. And we also kind of speak to the people who do all the ordering. You know, some things are more centrally ordered, but some things are more locally ordered. But just kind of having conversations with that sort of side, you can get an idea of just, you know, if you know what you've ordered in a year, yeah, and then you know you're recycling 90%. There's, I think, you know, I'm sure templates have merit, but we've not found we need a template as such. I think there are ways around it by knowing the plastics you're bringing in, and then knowing what you're putting out. I think if I can just talk a bit about, you know, the earlier points about training, and I think that's, you know, obviously the Green Lab Ambassador programme sort of, you know, part of that, but we find that, you know, Joe and I are kind of we're at the grassroots level, yeah. We you know, we're the bottom of the rung, really. And but it's us, because we're the lab users, albeit at the bottom of the rung. We are the ones who know, you know, it's our area of expertise, and we know what we're handling. And we used to question ourselves in the beginning, and we used to think, how are these questions not being, you know, how are people further up the chain? Our environmental sustainability manager and team, for a start, why has this not been addressed before? Why has this not been questioned before? But it's only actually us at the grassroots level on the ground that kind of know, you know, that know what's going on, and it's up to us. We've realised very much so. It's up to us to kind of, you know, ask the questions further up the line. So yeah, training is, I mean, that would be fantastic, and but, you know, it's up to, as Joe said, everyone just needs to question. Everyone just, you know, you have to keep it manageable, and you want quick hits, but everyone just, so much of what we do, it's all just habit, yeah. In science, we do day in, day out, we do the same thing because it works, you know. We need to replicate, you know, we need to replicate what we do, obviously, and we need to be able to copy what we do, and so a protocol works and we do it, but it's just actually stepping back. Everyone just needs to step back and question, and you can do that whether you're at the bottom of the rung or the top. So that was a bit of a ramble, but you know, I think it's worth saying that everyone, it helps if people further up the chain, you know, make you feel, enable you to ask these questions and, you know, progress on these things. But wherever you are, whatever place you are in the organisation, you can still question. And you might be the only one that's in a position to question a certain thing that's going on. So that's enough from me, and that I could go on all day. I have to stop.
Okay, great. Quick one also from Anna Lewis from Bristol. There's also a LEAN, so Laboratory Efficiency Action Network, that people can join. She's put a link on there, so I will send that out as well with all our information. And then Elizabeth Mitchell from Oxford Brookes. Regarding the freezer challenge, did anyone have any concerns, hostility, from research groups going to 70 degrees? That could be anyone, but
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Raj.
I was going to say, yeah, so I'll answer in reverse, actually. So on the -70 thing, yeah, there are, I believe there are situations where you have to be more careful about that. You know, it's obviously sample dependent and that type of thing. However, if you look at the Freezer Challenge website, which can be found by the My Green Lab website or just by Googling the Freezer Challenge, there is a page on there with various research and documentation around the whole question from around the world, around the whole question of -70. So I'd encourage people to take a look at that and see how it applies to what they're doing. And the other thing I just want to mention, I 100% agree with what Lisa said there about, you know, it's great the people at the grassroots going, observing what's going on and trying to generate change. One of the things we always talk about as well is that, like, labs are like one of the last great frontiers in sustainability, because it's almost like people miss it in the whole question mark. It's like, but turn that round, institutes, funding bodies, governments, companies, etc., all increasingly are setting themselves aggressive goals around carbon reduction, around alignment with UN SDGs, and a whole range of other things. And sometimes I think it's almost just a case of them realizing, oh wow, we've got these things called labs that are using massive amounts of energy, water, and generating lots of waste. It's actually quite a low-hanging fruit for us in terms of meeting some of the goals we're setting ourselves. We just didn't even realize. And so, yeah, I think Lisa's point there really talks to it. The success in this is about the two meeting in the middle, really. People like Lisa and her colleagues kind of doing their thing, and the people at the top kind of pushing down from the top, and everyone meeting in the middle. But I would say, yeah, don't be disheartened by that, because like UKRI just recently published a lot of a big up-to-date to their wider strategy with a lot of new content around sustainability. And we're seeing that more and more around the world, that where funding is allocated in science is increasingly including a look at the sustainability around research, for example. And I think that's really going to drive some of this change. If you start to not be able to get your money, if you're not thinking about working more sustainably, I think that will really, really start to drive things and encourage others to work like the guys we've heard from today.
Got one or two quick ones. We're going to start wrapping up. So for Joe and Lisa, do you think the framework like LEAF has helped you to make progress?
Sorry, I was trying to type an answer there to that particular one. The framework is just being made available. There's been a delay, so we should have had it by now, but the tool's been made available this month. So it's very early days, and we've not actually commenced with that yet. But I think, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the pilot, they ran a pilot of LEAF, and it showed really impressive results. And I think that the average of each lab, I'm trying to remember the size of the lab, I think it was maybe sort of on average 5 to 6 researchers. And I think their sort of annual saving was something like £2,000 or £3,000 in energy and related costs in the pilot year. It's a bit woolly, but you know, there's significant. There certainly seems to be significant savings, and I think Joe and I really pushed last summer. We really pushed to become part of LEAF and you know, sign up to the tool, because you know everyone's been distracted, obviously, with everything that's going on. But our point we keep trying to make is it's not just about environmental sustainability, it's about financial sustainability. Yeah, given, you know, the labs are huge resource users. Yeah, if we don't, even if you're not interested in environmental sustainability, yeah, if we don't actually address, I mean, there are some low-hanging fruits, as Raj says. There are, you know, look at our ULTs, 30% saving by increasing it by 10 degrees. You know, if we don't address these things, then, you know, we're not going to be financially sustainable either. So this is the way we're trying to, you know, we're trying to kind of always push against those who aren't especially interested, but we're always trying to make the financial argument as well. And we're really hoping that LEAF's going to help us really quantify, you know, these changes and improvements. So. Yeah, we'll be able to share. We've got some really good stuff from LEAF that we can share with everyone, and they can see the data so far.
Okay, great. Anna from KCL has also been using Leaf, so that's really helpful. I think this will be our last question from Tom at King's College London. Does anyone have any experience or knowledge of using glass equipment that can be cleaned and reused? Apparently Francis Crick Institute uses it, but he hasn't found any contact. Or if anyone has a contact that maybe they can share.
There, maybe not specifically that glass, but there is a really good article. Again, we'll share it. It was published in about September. It's fairly hot off the press, and it was a microbiology lab in Edinburgh Uni, and they looked at they kind of at the outset they talked about recycling not being possible. Obviously we've got a different take on that, but they talked about recycling not being possible. So they've looked at reuse and reduce strategies as well, which obviously are preferable anyway to recycling. And they're looking at washing the plastics, and I'm sure glass must be part of that as well, but certainly washing plastics, for example, using cell culture plastics, washing those, and then they would go into, like a microbiology lab. So cell culture plastics can't be reused, but if they're processed, decontaminated and washed, then they're actually looking at, using the plastics again. So that was a big project in that lab, and Joe and I found it really, really inspiring. So we'll share that. We'll share the article with everyone as well, because it's got some great strategies in it.
Fantastic, thank you so much. There seems to be quite a lot of resources out there, and also networking opportunities. I think what Raj said is key: collaboration, and certainly there's a definite case for kind of pushing this up and out and saying, there's definitely financial savings, which is probably where a lot of the kind of people higher up the chain are looking at, what they need to do. So that's definitely an incentive for those who are looking into that. So there seems to be some good frameworks out there and some good ways to work. I'm going to wrap up now because I know that everyone is really busy. I really appreciate Lisa and Joe, you making the time, because I know you're kind of in and out, and it's quite a difficult time for everyone. Raj, I know you've also got a kind of a busy day. So a really, really big thank you to all our speakers, and for everyone who's come along. This is obviously something that people are really interested in. If you'd like to hear more, if you would possibly pop in our Slido feedback. If there's any specific areas around sustainable labs that you'd like to dig a bit deeper into, or if there are any other topics that you just think would be really interesting, that you'd like us to run a webinar on and find some people who can speak about that. So if you just pop over to sli.do on your browser and put in SUST Labs, there's a couple of questions, just feedback on this particular presentation, as well as an opportunity to tell us about anything else that you would like to hear about. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. If you do have any links or information that you would like to share with everybody, if you could possibly drop them in an email to myself, and that's cmot@eauc.org.uk. I'll be very happy to put those all together and send out a document post-event with as much information as I get in. Great, thank you all very much for joining us, and I hope you have a very good day.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.